We've got good news today. 2K dropped their first developer insight, #1, showing off the dribble moves. I'll put the link in the description to the full video. You can hear the developers talking about the changes they made from 2K12 to 2K13. And let's just get a nice look at it first on the first run through. And then I'm gonna point out some things I noticed, some things I think are important. But I have to say it's looking good, and that right there looks good. It looks like the defender made a choice and he got owned. There was nothing he can do. And this is good news right here. This is showcasing the on-ball defense. Shading is back. You can now deny somebody or force somebody to drive baseline or drive middle, whatever you want to do. So let's run it back and let's look into some things a little closer. Notice how the defense reacts to these dribble moves. When you catch them off guard and you get them going the wrong way, they don't just miraculously get back into the play. If you hit them with that move at the right moment, they're stuck. Their momentum is stuck. And the developers even talked about that. They talked about foot planning. They talked about physics. And it's looking really good. And this trailer is looking really good. Now let's look at the relationship between the ball handler and the defender. There's no more awkward bumps. Now you're able to move and the defender can make moves and you go along with each other, but there's none of that awkward, crazy bumping going on. It's so much better now. So hopefully it's actually gonna work like that, because sometimes in 2K12, you'll be there on the defender, but nothing will happen. There'll be no collision, there'll be none of that. So hopefully everything that we're seeing here, it's not something that happens rarely, and that if you actually move where you gotta move at the right time, you're gonna get into these kinds of battles. Now look at how close Derrick Rose is to Rondo when he crosses him over. In 2K12, you couldn't do crossovers that close. You would dribble it off of their foot, you would collide. And so what you had to do instead was pull a crossover move when you're really far away from the defender, but that's not what a crossover is for. So this is giving us some hope that it's going back to the 2K11 style where you can cross them over when they're right there. Finally, defensive shading is coming back. In NBA 2K10, when they had on-ball defense, you were able to do that. You were able to shade the defender to the baseline or to the paint, wherever you wanted to direct them. The only thing is, in 2K10, it didn't work. So if I shaded you to the baseline, you could just go to the paint. It didn't work. So I thought that maybe in 2K11 they were gonna bring it back and tweak it, but they didn't, and it wasn't there in 2K12 either. So now it's coming back. I'm excited. The last thing to talk about is the controls. They changed how you do crossover moves now. You're gonna be using the right stick to perform all these moves. You're gonna have to hold the left trigger, I'm assuming, to change the shot stick to the dribble stick. I'm not sure if that's gonna conflict with the layup moves and dunks in the paint, like Euro steps, hop steps. I don't know, but I'm pretty sure they wouldn't have changed the controls unless they figured that out. Now, the funny thing about this gameplay footage is that it's nothing like what we saw at E3. Nothing like this was shown. So how far along were they really at that point? Did they really show us 2K13? Because this looks totally different than the E3 footage. So far, so good, right?